Afternoon and welcome to another EEAP webinar. I am Rick Roman and
Michael Crowley.
We're happy to be back here. We kind of took the month off last month with the summer vacations and everything's busy
A lot of
schedules.
holidays.
A lot of people just not available, so we went ahead and took the month off. But we're ready to get back at it, and so today we are going to be talking about, Michael, if we would.
Not a problem. Rick, we're talking about
Eyewash and shower stations. That's actually a pretty interesting topic. We got a lot of people that have needs in that area, Michael.
We do, Rick. A lot of people have needs in the eye wash and showers. They're wondering when to use the eye wash, when to use the shower, when do you need both, how close, how far, what kinds, and so that's what we're going to go over today.
Great. So before we go ahead and get into the presentation, as always, we are going to be giving away a fantastic Green Mountain Grill smoker to the person that could call us and be the first one to call with the correct answer to our trivia question.
Many winners this year, Rick. Many winners this year, and I think they do enjoy them, Rick.
Yes.
All
right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to be talking about, as Michael mentioned, when and where eye wash and shower stations are required, complying with the ANSI standards, inspection requirements, and the proper training and use of the eye wash and shower stations. All right, so let's start off here. When are eye wash stations required? So the California Code of Regulations, Title 8, Section 5162 says that plumbed or self-contained eye wash or face wash equipment which meets the ANSI standards shall be provided at all work areas where during routine operations or foreseeable emergencies the eyes of an employee may come in contact with a substance which can cause corrosion or severe irritation or permanent tissue damage or which is toxic by absorption.
Wow, that's a mouthful, Rick.
Yes. So in a nutshell, Michael, so talk about a little bit of, the types of areas. Obviously, we have these pictures here which kind of depict those types of areas that someone might be working with, but talk a little bit about the types of areas where people might be needing them in their work areas.
Two things that they're talking about is basically this. Number one, you should have in work areas that if you can get something in your eye or get irritant or may in an emergency circumstance get in your eye, and that could be really anything, right? So you really got to think about that kind of a system where you have, of course, the grinders are an interesting one that you can have, chemicals, debris, wood chippings, dust. There are a ton of different areas that you need to have an eye wash station for. Battery acids or something like that around your forklifts is charging stations. There is a ton to be able to have it. And the word there that I really need to focus on, if you go back to the slide, Rick, you'll see in the second highlighted area it says shall be provided at all work areas during routine operations or foreseeable emergencies the eye of an employee, and the word is may. May, not will, but may in the foreseeable future or in context. So the word is may, Rick, so that's a very vague thing. And so when your inspectors come out from Cal OSHA and they're looking at a circumstance and you may have believed that may never have happened. Well, it's an opinion based. That word may makes it so argumentative that if they say it may be, then you can get cited for that and have to argue that in court. So I do encourage you to really look and be very conservative with that estimate and just put eye wash stations where there could be a risk of it.
Great. Let's go to the next slide here. So now we're talking about shower stations. So same thing again, has to meet the ANSI standards and shall be provided at work areas where during routine operations or foreseeable emergencies the area of the body may come in contact with a substance which is corrosive or severely irritating to the skin or which is toxic by skin absorption. So, Michael, we have here, as you were talking about, the battery charging stations. Very common. A lot of our clients have forklifts, and they have these type of operations going on.
Well, the key here, Spot, again, is that word again. I love that word may. May is an attribute that you need to remember. So if a part of your body may come in contact, remember, they're not suggesting the whole part of your body, but a part of your body may come in contact. The pictures that we have up is a forklift battery charging area. But let's say you have a forklift area that doesn't necessarily get the batteries removed from the forklift, but there is a space which the wire comes out in, and that space, all the batteries are exposed on top. If they exploded in any way, that would shoot out on part of the body, thus a shower would be required. And I'm telling you, more often than not, we are seeing the district managers requiring eyewash stations and showers at battery charging areas for forklifts because these batteries are somewhat exposed. It's been a real issue for some of the clients, right?
Back to the may. They may have an issue. So,
Terrible.
All right, we'll move on to the next here. So now we'll talk about where and how many, basically, of these stations that you need to have. It says here, the location and emergency eyewash facilities and deluge showers shall be accessible in locations that require no more than 10 seconds for the injured person to reach. If both an eyewash or, oops, let's go here and switch over here. If both an eyewash and shower station are needed, they shall be located so that both can be used at the same time by one person, and the area of the eyewash and shower station equipment shall be maintained free of items that obstruct their use. So, Michael, the 10-second thing, that really is what determines how many you need and where you've got to locate them.
And people will say to me all the time, Michael, how many eyewash stations do you need? And just remember that yellow thing, the 10 seconds. You got to know where it is and how close it is. So the employee will go out to a customer, and the customers will say, well, Michael, here's the problem area where we think somebody may. I think that is 10 seconds, and that eyewash station is around a corner, or it's through a doorway, or it's somewhere on the other side, and I can get there in 10 seconds. Remember, it's within 10 seconds of the disoriented employee. So I've always used the joke, why don't you hit yourself in the face with a bag of nickels and see if you can get it there quickly. Obviously, that's a bit extreme. But you've got to have that interpretation of 10 seconds, because 10 seconds at what stride? My wife is only 4'11", so her stride is a lot shorter than mine. You know, yes. It's going to take her longer to get there.
And we just saw here in the last couple of weeks, Usain Bolt could go 100 meters in under 10 seconds, but when you've got acid in your eyes, you're not going to be running at that kind of speed.
Rick, who is Bolt, by the way?
Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is the
Bolt?
Yes. You must not have watched the Olympics. He is the world record holder, the fastest man ever to live.
Is it a world record forever? I mean, since
yes. Well, since they've had
I guess that's what he was timing it.
Yes. And so anyway.
And his name really is Bolt?
That's his last name.
I think he changed it for that. No, we digress, Rick.
Yes.
The point of it is this: 10 seconds, not for Mr. Bolt apparently, but for somebody maybe like me. I am not that fast of a guy. I'm like a pit bull with 2-inch legs. You know what I'm saying? I just don't move that fast, but I got a good bite on me.
And like you said, if you're injured, you're going to move even slower.
Right.
So if you depending on the size of your facility, you may need multiple eyewash stations.
You got to have a multiple eyewash station. It's an important thing. Important.
All right, let's go on to the next here. So now we're talking about the ANSI standards and complying with them. So they said that these units have to comply with these standards. Performance of plumbed and self-contained eyewash shower equipment. Supply potable water at the flow rates and time duration specified in the ANSI standard. Control valve shall be designed so that the water flow remains on without requiring the use of the operator's hands, and so that the valve remains activated until intentionally shut off. And all but handheld and drench hoses. Personal eyewash units shall deliver potable water or other flushing solution approved by the consulting physician.
So you can see in the picture there, you got an eyewash station with a paddle that you push down. Very, very, very typical. But a few of you do have the hose where you grab, and right there, Rick. And you'll notice with the hose that you can grab, when you grab it on that, it's going to activate it, and you can hold it up to your eyes. They're okay with whichever one you have, but you got to make sure that they work. Those paddles sometimes will stick, and sometimes there's a secondary valve that the plumbers put in, so they're shut off. So even if you push the paddle back, it won't turn on anyways. You really want to test these water eyewash stations to make sure the flow hits right. Making sure the water comes up, touches the middle, it does shoot up, not with too much pressure, but I think we may be getting into that, right, Rick?
Yes, we will. Let's go on to the next slide here, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those standards.
Complying with ANSI standards.
All right. So, and you've probably seen all these different types of eyewash situations here in different clients' locations. So both plumbed and self-contained eyewash stations should deliver a 15 minutes continuous flow. That is a big key. So you'll notice in that first picture, you're probably not going to get that. Eyewash stations should be located in the area free of obstructions that inhibit immediate use.
Tough to do sometimes, Rick. Tough to do.
And the eyewash and shower stations must have a flushing fluid temperature between 60 and 100 degrees. Obviously, if it's too cold, if you're in the shower and it's, in the wintertime, getting under 60-degree water, you can get hypothermia.
Hypothermia in 190-degree water has got to be hotter than a pistol.
Well, I'm talking about under 60. Yes, over 100, I don't think I want to shoot 110-degree water in my eye.
Between 60 and 100.
And then the valve must activate within 1 second and remain on, as I already mentioned, without being held on. So talk about some of these different shower stations, these different supply methods.
First, I'll talk about the squirt bottle. You got these beautiful squirt bottles, which nowhere in the world is going to run 15 minutes. Now, under the Fed OSHA law, that may be different where those are somewhat compliant. But we're in California. You just got to know that that is not compliant. If you choose to have them up, that is your deal that you need to pick altogether. Personally, I'm not a big fan of them. Even though we think that they're helpful to the cause, I really believe that if somebody has an emergency or they have a need, you get them as soon as you can to the thing that's compliant with Cal OSHA. That's the 15-minute eyewash station flush. Because if they go to this one and they are put off by chance, or they get there and it doesn't do the job, now they're scrambling to get to the real eyewash station that they should have gotten to in the beginning, and more damage can occur to the eye. And so I'm not a big fan of the little squirt bottles. I just think they're a waste. But you may feel differently, and so there is no Cal OSHA law that says you cannot have them up. Let's make that clear.
Right, there you go.
There is no law that says you can't have them up. You just have an eyewash station that complies. And so I'm just saying let's get them to the one that complies right out the back. Now,
it's just a vulnerability issue, basically.
Right. My favorite eyewash station, the plumbed-in one. But if you can't plumb it in and you've got the one that has the bag or something in there that you'll see in this picture Rick will put up, the second picture, something to that measure, you can go back, Rick. The logic of my concern with those are they do run 15 minutes. I do encourage you to test them yourselves. I know that you'll have to waste a cartridge or a fill, but you really want to take it and test it yourself. And when you see the water flow that comes out of there, I want you to test it and see the water flow and make the judgment yourself. If you had an issue, would that be what you were looking for? And if you say, yes, great, I don't have an opinion. They do meet the standards of Cal OSHA. But just remember, when we're out there as managers and owners and just employees, we need to make sure that the personal protective equipment we give people are things that we would want to wear ourselves, because that's what. So that's the level that I always just agree to.
I think a lot of times people want to go with that option because they think it's going to save them some money versus plumbing. But
yes,
the reality is those cartridges do have a life expectancy, and they need to be replaced. And over the time of a span of a few years, you're going to wind up spending more maintaining that than you would have just put in a plumbed-in unit to begin with.
And I agree, Rick. And a plumbed-in one is tough to do, but I will tell you that those things can be $50, $30, $60 a replacement cartridge, and you have to have somebody come out and do it. And they're just very tough. So I'm not a big fan of those, but I'm not suggesting they're bad in any way. They're just not my favorite.
All right.
All right, complying with ANSI standards again.
Okay, I think we went back. We did go the correct way. Did we not? Did we not?
I love eyewash stations, Rick, and I love my eyes. They're important to me.
One more.
We're going one more.
There you go.
Here we are. Here's the right one. Complying with the ANSI standards when it comes to the showers and stuff like that.
All right, so you got the water capacity. The inlet supply must be at least 30 pounds. Again, that was something Michael kind of touched on.
30 psi, Rick.
Yep, 30 psi. Normal design levels are usually around 45. Again, over 80 could be considered excessive.
My gosh. Yeah, I would say.
That might shoot your eye out. Eyewash unit has to be installed between 33 and 45 inches above the ground and 6 inches away from the wall, so you obviously have room to get in there and use it. Highly visible sign, like you see in the picture there, must mark the unit's locations, and the shower stations have to be well lit, and showers have to be installed between 82 and 96 inches above ground level. So typically are not so much issues that you see people having problems with when it comes to heights and things like that, right?
But what are some of the cited areas? Let me just tell you, when it comes to an eyewash station and showers, which we're being cited for most. Number one, not having one altogether. Two, it not running for 15 minutes. Then we get into blocked eye wash stations. They're used for jacket hangers, all sorts of things to cover them. They're blocked. They're not accessible. And then cleanliness. Holy mackerel, it's about cleanliness. You know, some of these eye wash stations, they look like they do worse to you than the acid in the eye for what reason. And they got debris and bird crap on them and mud and stuff. And when you push that paddle, you got, you know, copper water coming out of them, or brown water coming out of them for at least the first 5 minutes of it. And so you want to make sure you flush these things. You're doing things to keep these things clean and fresh. And that's really what you see these around. The OSHA inspectors themselves, they're just really sticklers about having something that's clean, fresh, and accessible. And if you do that by itself, my gosh, you've solved 90% of the areas that you can be cited for. I know we're showing you all these things which you need to be up to, but really, if you just do those basic things that I just listed, you should be fine with most inspectors, unless they're nuts and they need to hit you on every little inch.
Exactly, and yeah, that cleanliness, like you say, I mean, people that don't use them very regularly, things just tend to build up in there unless you're maintaining it. So let's go on here and talk about the inspection requirements, and these really are the issues that Michael just talked about, that they're really hitting you on for citations. The code requires that this eye wash and shower equipment be activated at least monthly to flush out the line, so we don't have that copper water that you were just talking about. Yes. And so you verify the proper operation. You talked about the flow and with it meeting in the middle and what have you. So you're checking for those things. You're also verifying that when you're done and you've inspected it, that the caps are in place and that you've maintained clearance. And then the important thing is keeping that record there on the tag that should be on your unit.
Now, we have created this OSHA inspection tag for your eye wash station. This thing is made of a never tear paper. It's waterproof, so it doesn't wipe off at all. But you'll hole punch it, have a zip tie. We send them out to you when you want them. You can just order them on our sticker store. But having something like that is key so that you guys can put an initial there so we know it's inspected monthly. And that really is an aspect of getting cited, that they want to see something. And so unless you have a tag hanging on the side, Rick, it's very difficult to prove you have an inspection. Unless you're going to have a binder in your shop, it's just too much. The tag works the best. The tag works the best.
So you really want to, like you said, just check those things monthly and mark off that tag, and you'll be good to go on that.
Yes, sir.
So the next part here goes to the training of your employees.
Training.
You want to make sure that your employees know where all of the shower and eye wash stations are located.
That's a key one, Rick, isn't it? They got to know where they are.
Got to know where to go if they need to use it. You should train them on how to use the station, and also never to use the station for non-emergencies. You talked about using it as a coat rack and things like that.
Yes, Rick.
And the thing really needs to be kept in order so that it's ready to be used when it's needed.
I've seen a lot of things. I've seen people get drinks out of them, Rick. I've seen people use them as just a cooling off period where they can just go and get wet as they're working outside. I've seen a lot of them, and they're really showing to be used for emergencies in that kind of perspective. And in doing so, you'll keep them better suited. They won't get broken so much. Jackets, hangers for jackets are just absolutely nuts. You got to stop putting your clothes on these things. I cannot tell you how many people we see hanging their clothes on these things or trying to get water out of it to drink or whatnot. Just keep them clean, and you'll find yourself that really is where you're at.
Yep. So, and then when you're training your employees, you want, the specifics, particular with the eye wash here, keeping their eyelids open as much as possible.
Not easy to do, Rick.
Not easy to do when you've got something, a shard in there, and you
some liquid or something
get it out of there.
It's terrible.
It's tough, but
you got to keep them open.
But you got to keep them open. You want to roll your eyes around as much as possible so that it really flushes and gets underneath the eyelids. And then also you should consult a doctor after you've done this, just to make sure that you've gotten everything out, and that if you've scratched something or any issues there.
I think that the consulting of the doctor is sometimes overlooked. An employee will use something like this and say, I've gotten it out. And here's the thing. We're all wanting to be strong people for our bosses and let them know we're capable. I'm not saying you make this a rule, but I think you should make it a strong consideration that if somebody gets something in their eye and it was a severe thing and they really needed to use their eye wash, depending on the circumstance, that having them consult a doctor is not a bad idea, just to verify we don't have any long-term things that could injure the employee, number one, importantly. easily, but also cost more money in just a workers' comp claim that was needless, that could have been taken out. So it's the loss of ability of quality of life comboed with cash, and I'm telling you, both are terrible to lose.
And especially with something like a chemical, which right now might seem like you washed it out, but down the road it could cause more problems for you.
Well, let me say, that is our Eyewash Station webinar here today, just talking about what it is, how it is, answering questions for you. We're about to get in the question and answer period in a minute, so please put in your questions if you have any questions. Right now, let me just say to the very few people that have been invited to be part of our webinar, if you have any questions for EEAP or you would like a free safety evaluation, give us a call. We would be glad to come out anywhere in the state of California and do that for you and let you know that we just love you to death. Rick,
all right.
Are you ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
For the time that everybody loves, the trivia question, hey, we love our customers and we want to make sure we take care of them by giving them a way to have a good holiday. What's the holiday coming up, Rick?
Well, the next one here, I guess, is, what is it, Labor Day's coming up here?
Labor Day, and let me tell you, I think we can get this out by Labor Day, don't you think, Rick?
I believe we can have it to you in time for that.
Rick, we're about ready for the question, sir. Here is the question.
Before we get to the question, the important thing to remember, it's not the first person to type it into the chat. It's the first person to call our 800 number, which we will display here, and has the correct answer. Michael, bring on the question.
What is the maximum distance from the exposure area that an eyewash or shower station can be located?
All right, we're waiting for a call to the 800 number. First one with the right answer wins this wonderful smoker.
Rick, if our customers don't get this after we said it in our webinar, I'm just absolutely going to die. It's going to be just so embarrassing for them. Come on, we want to give you a smoker today because we do love to do it ourselves. These things are fantastic.
I hear phones ringing, and I hope we should have an answer here shortly, and then we will get right into the questions and answers right after that.
So eyewash stations, let me just tell you this about an eyewash station. This can either be your friend or your enemy. Make sure you do get it close and you keep that in line.
Okay.
So with that being said.
Hello? Hello? Uh-oh.
I think Rick hung up on him, actually.
No, I should not have. Hello?
Yes, I'd like to answer your question on the eyewash.
Excellent. Who are we speaking with?
This is Kathy Cole.
Kathy Cole. What is the answer to the question?
10 seconds.
That is the correct answer.
Let's click it over.
Let's hope it's the right answer. If not, we're dead.
10 seconds is the correct
Congratulations,
answer.
Kathy. We're gonna put you on hold, Kathy, and they're gonna pick up the line. You're on line 1, it's looking like, and so our girls will pick up that line to take your information. Okay? There you go. She's on her way. Good night. Here we go. 10 seconds, sir. 10 seconds. All right, here we go. We're getting into the questions and answer period. We have our little friend, the greatest Steve. Steve, are you there, sir?
I am here.
Steve, in all your glory. In all your glory, is there anybody that has any questions they would like to chastise us about?
We do have a few questions.
All right, bring them to us.
All right, we have, what is the suggested water pressure of eyewash stations?
All right, water pressure. We had the PSI there. Rick will flip through the things again, but
so
basically
it needs to be at least 30, and ideal was 45.
Yeah, so I say if you keep it around 45, you won't blow somebody's ears out, blow somebody's eyes out, Steve. What else you got?
All right, we have somebody asking if there are non-plumbed showers.
You know, there are non-plunge showers. They are ridiculous, but there are some non-plunge showers, I believe. But here's your problem with your showers. You'll notice that we did not have a flow rate for a shower. Oh, not a flow rate, a length of flow, like 15 minutes for the eyewash station. You'll notice we didn't say that for the shower because there is none. So I'm not sure how a non-plunge shower would look like. I'm sure somebody's got one, but I've never seen one, Steve, and so I would think you should go plumbed on that one. That would be a lot of water to have. Steve, give me the next one.
What part of the shower are they measuring the height from?
Well, the ground to the top of the shower.
Shower head.
Shower head, yeah. The ground from the top of the shower head, I would imagine that's the height one.
Yeah, I believe because it was 82 to 96 inches.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Ground to the top of the shower, the base of the shower head, where you can get under. Yeah, there you go.
do you have to replace the water inside the portable eyewash station?
Manufacturer's instructions on that one.
The manufacturer's instructions, I think they go from anywhere from 30 days to 6 months, and so you've got to really find out what it is. If you're using a company like Z Medical or one of these first aid companies, they love to switch them for you, and so you really want to know what the manufacturer recommends and stick with that.
And that's actually the ANSI standard. If it's not plumbed, you have to go by the manufacturer's instructions.
Yep.
Where can I get replacement caps for our eye washes?
You can go online to Amazon, and I really believe if you put replacement caps on an Amazon, you can find them on Amazon and find them there. They shouldn't be too hard to find.
And I believe we also even have on our links page on our website, we have some resources for some eye wash things that should probably have caps as well.
Good point, Rick. Good point. Next question, Brother Steve.
Eye wash stations and showers near a regular outlet or GFCI outlet, how far away should they be?
Far enough so you don't get electrocuted. I can't tell you 10 feet, 20 feet, 100 feet. It really just depends on where the water runs to and how it should and how it splashes. So you've got to make that judgment call yourself. You can see there's nothing in the code that says you've got to have an eye wash station this far away from an electrical, but if the guy dies or the girl dies because of the simple fact you didn't have it far enough away, yeah, you're going to have a problem.
And that's probably something more that'd be in the electrical code than the code for the eye wash itself, because I do believe GFIs have standards as to how many feet away things that dispense water need to be. So
that really is the answer. I've seen a lot of eye wash stations by electrical panels, and I'm looking at them going, you got to be kidding me, people. This is not planned well. But it does make it so you don't have to deal with the claim of the eyes. Deal with the claim of the death. Steve, next question before we digress.
All right, we got one last question. Somebody asking about the inspection frequency.
The inspection frequency is once a month to make sure it flows, unless it is a self-contained eye wash station. Then you just got to make sure it's clear and rocking and rolling. You would not need to make sure it flows on that one on a monthly basis because it's self-contained and it would go. So they say you need to do that one like they said at the manufacturer guidelines. It's if it's 30 days or 6 months, whatever it says, you need to pull that trigger.
If it's plumbed, definitely monthly.
Yes, yes. Steve, any more that have come in this little while?
Nope, that's it.
Has anybody said horrible things about us, Steve?
No, sir.
God bless him, Steve. God bless him. We're giving away a free smoker. How complaining can it be? It's a free webinar. Steve, we're going to let you go, brother. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. Then that looks like we got through all of your questions. If you do have further questions, there will be a replay. You can submit through the email on that as well, or call us. We're happy to help you with any questions you might have. Other than that, any parting words, Michael? We're ready to sign off.
We are ready to sign off, and just thank you for your business. And if you have any questions, you can ask our team. We're here for you anytime you need us.
Thank you.